He spent his whole career painting angels. Golden light, soft skin, peaceful, gentle faces, the kind of paintings people hang above their beds. Then, once, just once, he painted this. Two naked men, locked in a fight to the death, one sinking his teeth into the other's neck, a demon grinning in the fire behind them. No angels here, no softness, no mercy. Same painter, same hands that painted 1,000 quiet virgins. So what happened? Just this one time? And why did it never look quite like this again? This is Dante and Virgil in Hell, painted in 1850 by William-Adolphe Bouguereau. Today it hangs in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, almost 3 meters tall, big enough to make you feel small, standing in front of it. People who've seen it in person describe the same thing, a kind of silence that falls over the room. When it was first shown, viewers didn't know whether to admire it or step back from it. And here's the strange part. Bouguereau built his entire reputation on the opposite of this. Soft mythological women, cherubs, idealized, flawless beauty. This is the only painting where Bouguereau let two ordinary men tear each other apart with nothing but rage. Just once. And then, as if nothing had happened, he went back to angels for the rest of his life. That contradiction is the whole reason this painting still unsettles people. It doesn't feel like an artist experimenting. It feels like something he'd been holding back for years. To understand why, you have to go back to 1850. Bouguereau was 25 years old, fresh out of art school in Paris, and broke. No wealthy patrons, no guaranteed income, just talent and a desperate need to prove it. He had already tried, twice, to win the most prestigious prize in French art. It was called the Prix de Rome. Winning it meant years of funded study in Italy and a career practically guaranteed for life. Losing it, twice, meant something closer to invisibility. He watched other painters get chosen while he stayed behind. This painting was his way of finally being seen, a calculated, oversized gamble built to force the jury to notice him. So he didn't paint something pretty. He painted something no one in that room could look away from. Look closer at what's actually happening in this scene. It comes from Dante's Inferno, specifically the 8th circle, reserved for liars, frauds, counterfeiters. The man biting into the other's neck is Gianni Schicchi, condemned for stealing a dead man's inheritance by pretending to be him. The man screaming beneath him is Capocchio, an alchemist who, in real life, was burned at the stake for the crime of faking gold. Bouguereau studied real anatomy to paint this. Muscle, tendon, vein, twisted into positions that feel almost unbearable to look at. One critic at the time praised the violence as rare, genuine strength in a world of paintings that usually chase softness, not power. But the two fighters aren't the only figures here. Just below them, on the stony ground, lies a third man. His body is twisted, contorted. It's not even clear if he's dead or still suffering. Almost nobody notices him first. But once you do, you can't stop seeing him. To the left, watching quietly, stand Dante and Virgil. One of them stays calm, almost unmoved by the violence. The other can barely look, visibly horrified. Above them, floating in the smoke, is a winged demon, arms folded, a wide, delighted grin on his face. And here's the detail almost nobody catches. His eyes aren't even on the fight. They're fixed on Dante and Virgil themselves, enjoying the witnesses, more than the violence itself. Now look further back, into the darkness. It gets worse. An entire mass of anonymous bodies, pressed together, consumed by flames in the distance. This fight isn't an isolated punishment. It's just the one Bouguereau decided to zoom in on. Here's what almost nobody points out about this painting. 28 years earlier, another painter tackled this exact same scene. Dante and Virgil crossing into hell. His name was Eugène Delacroix, and he gave his painting the exact same title, Dante and Virgil in Hell. Delacroix's version was moody, dreamlike, almost the opposite of this one. When it debuted at the Salon of 1822, reactions were split. One judge dismissed it as a real daub, worthless. Another called it powerful, even Rubens-like. Bouguereau grew up in the shadow of that painting. This probably wasn't a coincidence. He wasn't just painting Dante, he was answering Delacroix, stroke for stroke, decades later. And if you've seen our video, on Géricault's Raft of the Medusa, this composition might already feel familiar. Delacroix built his own Dante scene out of Géricault's raft. The same tangled, desperate bodies, repurposed for hell itself. 3 artists, 3 paintings, 1 argument, passed down like a challenge. This is exactly the kind of thread we pull apart, every single week. So what happened to Bouguereau after this? He touched darkness again, here and there. A flogging, a myth about torment and guilt. But never again anything quite this feral. Never again 2 ordinary men tearing at each other, with nothing but their own teeth. For most of his long career, he went right back to exactly what made him famous. Serene goddesses, sleeping nymphs, soft, glowing, idealized beauty. Painting safe enough to hang in anyone's drawing room. He became one of the most successful painters in France, wealthy, celebrated, adored at every salon. And later, an entire generation of critics turned on him for exactly that. Too smooth, too pretty, too safe, they said. The rising avant-garde dismissed him completely. This single canvas stayed the exception to all of it. The one time the painter of angels let something monstrous out into the world and never looked back, almost as if this was all he needed to say. And here's the detail worth sitting with. This one still hangs in the Musée d'Orsay, still stopping people mid-step, 3 meters tall. Because if you read Dante's actual words, the ones that inspired this whole nightmare, the poem is even more brutal than the paint. Dante wrote that Schicchi seized Capocchio by the neck with his teeth and dragged him so hard, his stomach scraped the stone floor. Bouguereau didn't invent this violence, he just gave it a face. The angels made him successful, but this made him unforgettable. The painting watched. It still watches. It never stopped. Most people look at paintings. Very few actually see them. This is inside the artwork.